Let's see, the first day of the entire camp being together for me is always a very special time. I've had conversations with just about everybody, more on an individual basis, and you talk about some things that happened in the past. You talk about where they're at currently. You're talking about some of the things you want to see from them in spring training. That's kind of what my off-season program was with a lot of the conversations I had. Now you get in front of them for the first time, and it's always very exciting. I don't want to discount what happened with the pitchers and catchers a few days ago, but this one was a little bit different. So to get in front of them, make the introductions, tell them outline what the expectations are, and just keep plowing forward. This is day one, and we go out there, and it's a longer-ish type of a day. I think we're out there for 2.5 hours. We got a lot of good quality work done. Some team fundamentals, some individual fundamentals. I had a different course today. I wanted to see some of the younger players, but a lot of good work in, and I just got done watching some great arms out there throwing the baseball. So it was just good to be out there and good to get day one out of the way.
How about hearing Derek and Ken address the team? Did you notice a different tone when they were up there, and what they've done in the off season, kind of just everything?
Yeah. I don't. Did you hear the message? I'm not sure. Was that made public? Okay.
He shared
a little bit of it. Yeah. I thought it was two of the best messages that I've heard from them. Not to discount what they've done in the past, but it was very crisp, very directed, congratulatory, and talking about what we can do and what this group means to him. So. That was Ken, and then Derek just echoed that. He piggybacked off of that. I think that it's a little bit different. The message different today. The messages are always basically the same for me. Concentrate on today, preparation. I don't want to get too far ahead of it, but I think he gave them a snapshot as to what they mean to this valley, and I got an impact. I felt the impact of that as well. I'm not the player, but I was feeling what they both said, and we want to represent this valley and this state to the best of our ability and make them proud of us. And I think we got on the right track last year. And the train hasn't been on the right track here for a few years, but they acknowledge that it is, and it made me very proud.
Is that something you can feel? It was a holiday. There's a pretty good crowd out there today. Is that something you can feel already in camp with the fans?
Yeah, I looked out there from Field 6, and I kind of surveyed what was happening. There was a little down moment, and they're too deep with fans, right? Normally there's 17 fans out here, and you can hear their conversations from the field. But it was a very busy and full day for the fans, and we appreciated their support. So, I want to take the opportunity to say thanks for coming out. I know it was a holiday, but to have them come out here and support us the way they did today was a very special moment for all of us.
Any ice cream?
No ice cream. I got a lot of ice cream questions. So I think people are amazed that ice cream was coming to my house without me knowing who it was coming from. Like, that might be a little weird, but I was eating it. I'll tell you that. It didn't stop me. The one that I got it from Dan, right? I got my first one that was kind of just one name was Dan, and I might have told you this. So I ate it for 2 days before I know one Dan in this town, Dan Bickley. So I got on the horn and I texted him, and I'm like, hey man, really appreciate the ice cream. He's like, hey buddy, I didn't send you any ice cream. So everybody asked, like, you ate the ice cream that was foreign? I'm like, well, at that point it was too late, so I ended up eating everything that I got. Didn't matter who it was coming from.
Make sure it's sealed next time.
Yeah.
You signed a lot of autographs today too.
Yeah.
Are you used to being asked to sign a lot as opposed to the way it was today?
In space, I can get stopped, but not for that long, for sure. So that's my responsibility. I feel like I signed up for it when I put this uniform on, and I represent the Arizona Diamondbacks. I need to stop and connect with the fans whenever I can. So the worst part of it is I told them 5 minutes before it happened, I said, when a certain pitcher steps on that mound on that field, I'm going to have to go. So I didn't get to everybody, but I was happy to stop because fans mean a lot to me. Fans mean a lot to this organization and every player as well.
I saw a lot of guys taking the live BP. I saw Jerry. I know you spoke about him at shortstop, about his role yesterday, and just going. I think the ball landed out of the yard.
It did.
Sure.
Yeah.
From the right side. So that's another. Where do you see his progression there this year? Because we've seen some good things before.
Yeah. He's done a great job of accepting coaching, improving in the right areas, and taking care of his business the right way. We talked about picking the right hard, pick the right challenge for the day, and understand why you got to get better in certain areas at certain times. And We've addressed the right-handed swing with Jerry before, and I told him, and I said it here first, really before I said it to him, that because I have not had my one-on-one with him, but I don't really care because I want to say it and tell the world that he's going to be our everyday starting shortstop and maybe 135, 140 plus. He knows what that means, and he knows that to get the reps that we want him to and to get to that number, he's got to be a very good right-handed hitter. So for him to get a ball like that and hit it off a Lynn, I know it probably felt good for him, but I know it's a lot of hard work that's going in behind the scenes. So we need him to continue growing and learning every single day.
How much development have you seen from Jerry between last year at this time and today?
Hard to say. I mean, I haven't seen his game this year, and I'll be able to maybe expand on that a quarter of the way through the season to tell you what the right-handed reps look like, what kind of a role is he taking on as a leader. He's very natural. I haven't asked anybody to be a leader. I want them to be themselves. But he innately understands every one of his teammates, and he's very comfortable in his own skin. So I see that continuing. He's the first one that'll come into my office and sit down. You know, he's comfortable coming all the way into my office and sitting in the far seat. Most people come in and sit down in the first seat and can't wait to get out of there. He is all about coming in and just making himself at home. So I think that's evolved over time. He's always been very comfortable. But for him to do and say the things that he says in a very mature way is something that he's been developing over the past couple of years.
Saw Jace Peterson get hit on the foot today. Did you check in with him? How's he doing?
I didn't. I came straight in from the field, so I didn't see. I didn't see every swing and every rep on both fields. I had my priorities that I wanted to get to today, so I didn't see that. But I haven't heard anything from the medical team, and I know that I was probably. Was it his last at bat? Toward the tail end.
Yeah, it was close. I think it was
Okay, then I didn't see it, so I haven't gotten any medical report, but I'll keep you posted.
Or did you see Gino and Jock out there today, or just in general seeing them on the field?
Yeah, I saw Jock's live ABs. I saw Gino pick up the baseball and the individual defensive work, and they're just good baseball players. They're smart baseball players, and they're going to help us win baseball games. I think they can slow the truck down when it needs to be slowed down. They can speed it up when it needs to be sped up, and they just say and do the right thing. And that's kind of what I'm getting in and around this space as far as watching them on the field. They have a very good pace to where they're trying to get to. You know, the Jock swung the bat good and live, and Gino was moving actively at third base. So both welcome additions, and I'll be zoning in on them a little bit more.
Torey, during the World Series, during the Super Bowl, there was a lot made of the overtime rules, and 49ers maybe weren't as prepared as the Chiefs were there in the spring training, thinking about the Super Bowl, the final game. Is there anything you took away from the World Series run that you're kind of maybe implementing now to say you're looking ahead and you're thinking about winning a World Series more so than any other season?
Well, I will say that what could possibly happen in October wouldn't be any different than what we do during the year. We try to overturn every rock and prep these guys the best way we know how. So we're putting stuff in their tool belt right now. Not quite yet, and it loads up for the first 10 to 12 days that I almost feel like they get bogged down. And sometimes the game, they might be a little fatigued during the game. So we're going to continue to do that. But that lesson there taught me that you can never stop, no matter what the circumstances are, training and teaching these players, and they're very smart. I thought the game was going to be over in 4 seconds if they didn't score that touchdown. I didn't know the rule, right? Their players were performing and playing like they knew exactly what was going on. There was no panic that they were going to continue playing into that next overtime. And that signified coaching to me. That was coaching at its finest because the players were well informed when they stepped between those lines and started to execute. That is me at my core. I don't want to ever be surprised. I don't want the players to ever be surprised. And preparation is something that I'll stand on every day while I'm here.
Do you see a difference in Corbin's demeanor now that this is his second, spring training?
He might be a tad more natural. I don't want to say comfortable because I think he's just a fine young man that he says the right things, he does the right things, and he's always in the right space. So, I would probably say maybe a little bit more mature and understanding what he's got to get to without trying to fast forward any of the process. He's a routine and process oriented guy, and that's why he's so successful in my opinion. But yeah, he's probably a little bit more mature looking when I look at him, and maybe that's just because I know what he's done and I know what's under the hood. But I know he's the same kid deep down at his core.
Torey, he was so good, obviously his first year. When you sit him down and
Yeah.
compare, what do you tell him from the way you set expectation-wise when he's something
Yeah.
face in a way?
My conversations with him are so advanced. I don't want to discount the conversations that I have with other people, but other players. But at 23 years old, as he's sitting down, I'm almost shaking my head with some of the things that are popping out of his mouth and the preparation that he's done. He knows exactly what he wants to get to. Once again, he is picking the right hard per day. He's picking the right hard per season, And I say that because I can walk into a stadium and I have 25 hards that I got to take care of that day, and I'm only going to give 1% or 4%, 2% of what I can. He's going to give 100% of what he wants to work on that day, and I really respect that. He knows exactly what he's going to try and get to, and I don't want that to stop. He's going to be the same guy. The sky's the limit for him. He is unbelievably talented and very dedicated, and we know what he did in the first half. Made adjustments, and he had a really crisp kind of ending of the season. And I know that it's going to be a very successful year for him again.
Has he got you in the card collecting too?
No. I do have baseball cards, but I haven't collected in a while. Last year, very early on, he came into my office, and I didn't put it together until much later in the year. He came in my office, and he had like 4 or 5 of my cards. He said, "Would you mind signing these?" And I didn't think anything of it. I thought maybe he's doing it for somebody else, but he was doing it for probably his own collection, right? Because I knew that he and Lawler were trading on the back of the plane that one day, which was a great moment for me.
Sorry, talking about the fans out there and you signing autographs, the line for Corbin, like people waiting for him was deep.
Right.
He was entirely unfazed by it, but
Mm-hmm.
which I'm sure would not surprise you. Does anyone come to mind in here or Boston or any that kind of became like not quite an overnight sensation, but a pretty rapid rise to stardom?
Man, I've seen a lot of great players. I've seen a lot of great and humble players. He's doing things behind the scenes that nobody knows about, that I know about, and sometimes I hear the tail comes around and tells me the story like I don't know right away, and I hear him like, I can't believe this kid is doing that. For example, the other day, after a fan fest, nobody knows, but he went and did a camp and dedicated his time to a camp of 350 kids that nobody knew about, and he initiated that himself. So I saw him later that evening, and I asked him, "How you doing? You tired? Where you been?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm tired and I'm hungry, so let's eat." And I gotta rest up because I just did a camp and for 2.5 hours. So that stuff to me is amazing, and I wonder how he feels about adding 10, 12 years onto that. Will he do that in 10 to 12 years? I have every reason to believe he's going to be the same exact guy. Does he remind me of anybody? Look, I say this respectfully because he was arguably one of the greatest players that has ever played the game, but I know that Cal Ripken signed every autograph and wouldn't leave the stadium until every autograph was signed. Corbin reminds me a lot of that personality.